Joe and Jenny, I'm so excited for you as you celebrate your wedding day. And one thing that I'm just so thrilled about is to see your recognition of God's sovereign grace in your life. Sovereign grace is a compound idea that begins with God, who is the sovereign creator of all that is. To really boil it down to its simplest part, it just means that God is in control of all things, that there are no accidents in this universe, that nothing happens by chance. In his divine, infinite wisdom and power, God has a sovereign purpose over all that is, and his plan will not be thwarted or altered or diminished. He doesn't have a plan B because his plans never fail. And so his sovereignty rules over everything. He is completely and absolutely sovereign in the good times and in the bad. The idea of God's grace really comes down to his unmerited favor that he shows us. The fact that he could look upon sinful creatures with love demonstrates that he is a good God who is gracious towards us. Grace really is the reason behind everything good we enjoy. Because of our sin, we rightly deserve God's wrath and punishment, but because of his holy love, he shows sinners grace, and we experience goodness and joy in this world. Everyone enjoys this grace to a certain extent. As the Bible says, the rain falls equally on the righteous and the wicked, and God shows his kindness in so many ways, and you're experiencing that today as you get married. The fact that God exercises sovereign grace means that his demonstrations of love are not arbitrary. And this is most clearly seen in the gospel, where God exercises his sovereignty in choosing some for salvation. Ephesians 1 tells us that it was in love that he predestined us to be his saints. And from our perspective, I know that we don't always understand why God does what he does or why he chooses one person over another. But that's okay. It wasn't given to us to know why God does everything that he does. What is vitally important is to understand that he is a gracious God and eager to forgive, willing to forgive those who have rebelled against him. That's what sovereign grace is, in a nutshell, to understand it, but even to be blown away, especially when we know the extreme measures that he went to provide a way of salvation and hope to those who stood condemned. Sovereign grace is a wonderful theme for marriage because in marriage you see God's sovereignty and grace every day. You recognize his sovereignty in bringing you two together, that you understand your meeting was not by chance. It wasn't just arbitrary. You know that God was behind it all, that he orchestrated the events of your life so that you two were in exactly the right place at the right time to meet when he wanted you to meet. But it goes beyond that. He was behind your families. He knew what families you were going to be raised in. He knew how you were going to be raised. He knew about your experiences, your joys, and your hardships. And he worked through all of that, especially to bring you to the right understanding of the gospel, that you would come to know his son. And now you're brought together, and you're married. And you recognize that all of this is by his sovereign grace. Why? Because he loves you, and because he's gracious towards you. Many people get married in this world, and everyone that gets married does so because God is gracious. You also see God's sovereign grace in marriage every day as you continue to lean on him, to depend on him in daily living, in the everyday choices that you make, even in the little things. When you walk down this aisle and you make your vows, you do so in the wisdom and the strength that Christ provides because he's willing to extend his sovereign grace to you. And so I'm here to congratulate you and to say, that we're behind you, that we support you. But better than anything we could provide for you, you've got a God who loves you and who's watching out for you and who'll care for you moving forward. And for that, you have your whole lives, to express your thankfulness to him and to give him praise. So congratulations to you, and we hope that today is just going to be a blessing that you'll remember for the rest of your lives. Thankfully, because God is sovereignly gracious.